Welcome back, my brothers and sisters. Welcome back. Okay, so after all this time of Diddy's house getting raided, him going to jail, and so much different things coming back on Diddy's name, his verdict came in. And out of 5 counts, he was guilty on 2 and now guilty on 3. Not guilty on racketeering conspiracy, not guilty on sex trafficking by force, found fraud or coercion, guilty on transportation to engage in prostitution, not guilty sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, guilty on transportation to engage in prostitution. Very interesting. So he's guilty on 2 accounts. I know a lot of people are out there celebrating because he was found out guilty. Now, when I seen different clips, I'm like, okay, so he was just found out guilty. I don't know. He's found guilty on 2 accounts, and I believe that he can face up to 10 years for each count. So he could be in jail for 20 years. Now, they're probably celebrating and pouring oil on themselves because he was found not guilty on, the major counts, which probably could have put him in jail for life, But Diddy's no spring chicken. 20 years is a long time. You know what I'm saying? Candace actually said something about this. She thinks that it was a show case, meaning it was a case just for the public show.
Was not at the top of the ring, okay? And it sounded like it was a Fed operation. And so it was a show trial because the Feds are never going to reveal the Feds that are in control of an operation. And the minute that they did not bring Christina Karam, the involvement that this woman have, apparently it's like having a Jeffrey Epstein trial and not like a public Jeffrey Epstein trial and not mentioning or bringing up Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, that's how you know it was a show trial. So this whole fake, oh my God, I can't believe you got away with it. Of course you got away with it. This was a Fed operation. That is my viewpoint. I am never going to change it. I think he's the Jeffrey Epstein of the hip hop world. He was doing what he was supposed to do and what he was told to do. And we're never going to get any information because now everyone's gotten their show trial and there are people on the streets that are pouring baby oil on top of themselves. I'm not kidding. His fans and supporters, as a show of support, it's disgusting. I'm laughing at just the state of humanity today because women are in the streets throwing baby oil on themselves, excited that he is found not guilty on the bigger charges. And I'm maybe asking for a reset. We just need to reset on humanity, just kind of, back to the factory settings here.
So Candace is saying it's a show trial. Now, here's what I can agree with. The fact that Christina was not brought forth to talk. That's crazy. She was involved with so much of what was going on. She probably could have been charged. That much was involved as far as Christina is concerned, and she was not brought up to talk. That's absolutely insane. That's why Candace is saying it's a show trial. But understand this: that's Candace's opinion. Okay, that's her opinion. I know she says a lot of different things where she puts something in there and it makes it sound like it's a fact. And then people go off saying no, that was just a show. That's her opinion. Okay? She don't know if that was a show. That was her opinion. That's her stance. That was a Fed operation. Now, it could be true, but you don't have facts behind that. That is an opinion. That is a thought because of what was going on, because of Christine not getting up to actually talk in front of the jury. These different things are at hand. It could be true. I'm not saying it's false, but I'm also not saying it's a fact. So I don't want people to go from here saying, oh, this and that. You go ahead and look deeper yourself until you find out that it's a fact. Then when you find out something is a fact, then go ahead and go through it saying that this is definitely what it was. Stephen A. Smith also talked about this.
Charges. So the worst case scenario is that he could be sentenced to 10 years in prison for each, okay? And that he could face up to 20 years. Everybody that I've spoken to, and I'm about to bring you 2 legal experts to explain all of this to you. Everybody that I've spoken to said, forget 20 years. He's not even getting 10. In all likelihood, it won't be 5. And there's a slim possibility that he'll get 2 to 3 years. So you've got people out there speculating that it could be 1 to 0 as it pertains to the amount of time that P. Diddy spends in jail. Why on earth would that happen? Well, there's a couple of reasons to point to. Clearly, the Southern District of New York, an elite prosecution unit, didn't do their job well enough. So they didn't get him on sex trafficking. They didn't get him on racketeering. They didn't get him on that stuff. Okay? They didn't get him on it for Cassie Ventura or Jane Doe. That's number one. Number two, what's another reason why he could get off? Because now it's at the discretion of the judge. And if the judge is pissed off because you've had this dude in May.
Here's what I want to say about this whole situation with Cassie and different women when it came to Diddy. Because if you heard about what was going on in the case, it was a lot of individuals who were very worldly, into a lot of different freaky stuff. Okay, a lot of different fetishes, but it seemed like all of them were into this stuff, right? These freak outs and things like that. So that's what it seems like from the text messages and different emails and different gigolos coming out and talking. When I mean gigolos, like male prostitutes, pretty much. They got paid to do different things. Definitely seemed like a agreement, and didn't seem like anybody was forced into doing these type of things. As far as what's being said and as far as what's seen on text messages, people can say they felt a certain type of way with inside of themselves later on. But a lot of different times we see things like people come out later and want money for different situations. Now, am I saying that's the case? I don't know if that is or not. But going off of what's actually seen and what's actually being spoken from different individuals who are not suing, are not pressing charges, it seemed like they all were together in on it. Now, here's where it takes a turn though. When you start beating these individuals, when you start causing harm, bodily harm to women, you deserve to be locked up. And if that's the case where people were afraid into doing different things, you deserve to be locked up. Justice needs to be served for each and every individual who have gone through trauma because of an individual that they like to call the devil. We seen what was her name? What was her name? Mrs. Wright. Forgot the singer's name is.
In jail since last break practically. And the judge is of the mindset that you didn't make your case. And you just piled on. So you made this argument on behalf of the Southern District of New York and you didn't make your case. You essentially wasted the court's time. So why are we going to waste any more time on this particular issue? When you went and you was hell-bent on putting this man behind bars for the rest of his natural life, and now he's in a situation where he could face minimal time. Why waste the court's time any longer on this issue? The judge could make that assertion. He could make that determination. He has the power to do that. We also have to take into account that P. Diddy can appeal the 2 charges that he was found guilty of in terms of transporting individuals to engage in prostitution. So you remember when Elliot Spencer was the governor of New York? Remember when he got in trouble and he had to leave office because he was using an escort service and had one particular woman who tickled his fancy, but who knows how many that travel from New York to New Jersey. The thing about that case is that he was never charged with a crime.
So pretty much flying an individual out for pleasure and paying them is illegal. That's what's being said here. So for all those individuals who like to fly women out for, expensive extravaganzas and pay them money, you're committing a crime.
So Diddy's team can make the argument, why is he being charged with this? Why was he charged with this in the first place? It was clear overreaching by the prosecution, which has now been exposed. P. Diddy may end up not spending any more time in jail. At the time of this taping, we are sitting here waiting for the judge to decide whether or not Diddy's going to be let out on bail until his sentencing. And if he's let out on bail until his sentencing, and then he comes back for his sentencing, and that sentencing could be anything from 1 to 2 to 3 years in prison, or maybe it's just community service and a stiff fine.
Well, we know that bail was denied. And Diddy won't be getting out or anything like that until after his sentencing. Now, and depending on what his sentencing is, he won't be getting out after that either. And I believe his sentencing is in October. So he was denied bail, and he's up in there until his sentencing. Here's what I have to say about the whole thing, because we brought this story up a couple different times, so it's only right that we come to the conclusion as it concludes. I always said many different times, hardships come your way, especially when you're in a place where you are completely lost, thinking that you're found. Meaning, different people like Diddy or different rich people who are just in this life of party. They think that they're having a good time. In actuality, their flesh is taking over. And they're completely in a space of delusion from pleasure. Even P. Diddy, I don't know if you've seen the different messages, but he was talking about how he needs help. Talking about checking into rehab. How he overdosed before. How? Continuously partying. Continuously in this life and this reputation that he feels he maybe needs to live up to. Oh, Diddy has the biggest parties, or Diddy has the best this, Diddy has the best that. I seen a video on a Christian artist who was talking about how this needs to be the time to reset different levels. Because P. Diddy was a level of success that a lot of different young black individuals would look at like, y'all want to get to that point. But why would that be a point you want to get to? He's completely lost in the sauce. Out here having freak offs and this and that. Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. Then if there's anybody who is at the pinnacle of success, let it be a man of God. Let it be an individual who is actually walking right in God's eyes. Let it be someone who's actually following Christ. I think it's time for a great reset in different people's minds. The thought process that goes on with individuals. It really is. Because people following this is only going to lead them into destruction, physically and mentally. Definitely spiritually. So whatever the case may be, whether he's locked up for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, may the Lord truly enter his heart and transform whatever darkness has come upon him. Amen. Because it could be a domino effect when it comes to different individuals who are in certain positions, depending on the route they take. And I just pray that it's a domino effect in the right direction, which is light, ultimately. Amen? You let me know what you guys think about the whole situation. God bless. Shalom.